Hi everyone. I miss you guys. I've missed being here on YouTube. I've missed creating videos. I've taken a little bit of a break. It's been 2 months and it's time for me to make my return back to YouTube. So in this video, I wanted to reintroduce myself because I know I've gained a lot of new subscribers since when I first started my channel. I've also changed a little bit, I must say. I'm not the same guy I was even a year ago, so I'm going to be doing this in a different kind of way, something I thought would be a little bit more interesting than just reading out pre-written questions. So I had a friend of mine create a bunch of questions for me after going through some of my comments under my videos, and he picked some pretty deep questions, but a lot of these questions I've never answered before. So I hope you're interested in sticking around with me till the end of the video because I have some big news, and let's get right into it. The truth is, I've grown up a lot since I posted my first YouTube video 8 years ago. I have changed for the better. I will say I've gained a lot of wisdom. I've gone through a lot of interesting experiences. And yeah, I feel like I've sort of made a full circle in my life. And I was going through my YouTube channel a couple days ago and I watched my first ever YouTube video. And that video is titled Gay Problems and How to Stay Hopeful. I made this video when I was in my sophomore year college dorm, and after watching the video, it reminded me why I started my YouTube channel, and I still have the same goal for my YouTube channel that I had back in 2017 when I started my channel. Just the title alone, Gay Problems and How to Stay Hopeful, it just about sums up my entire existence here on YouTube and what I strive to create with my content. Lighthearted, inspirational videos that remind people to keep going, keep pushing. And I don't want to say it gets better because I feel like that's so played out and cliche, but I want to show people that life is worth living, and just because you're gay, it doesn't mean that you're any less of a man. So I hope that didn't get too deep before we even get into the interview, but I just wanted to explain to you guys why I'm still wanting to create YouTube videos, because I'm about to be 27 next month. I've been in Arizona for, it'll be 9 years this year. So I moved here in August of 2016. And in August of 2025, it'll be 9 stinking years. Not stinking, but eye-opening, life-changing, exhilarating. 9 crazy years. We'll just leave it at that. I've grown up a lot since I first started posting content, and I'm not really interested in talking about the same things that some of my most popular videos involve. And I think it's part of growing up, but also part of me changing from the creator that I was when I was making videos about how to like clean out before a hookup and experiences on adult film sets that I've had. It's been 3 years since I've done adult film work, so I really want to keep moving on with my life instead of constantly reflecting on that era, because it doesn't define me, and I'm ready to discover this new version of myself. So I'm going to be having a different version of me interview and ask me these questions just as a way to mix things up. So let's get started with this interview. All right, so let's get started with this interview, Richie. So first, tell me, who is Richie West? I would say I'm a gentle guy who views my life as a journey. My original YouTube name was actually Journeyman West before I changed it to Richie West. And I'm sure many of you can probably understand why I chose Richie West. I really want to create it into something bigger than adult film, but in all reality, that was the inception of Richie West, was entering into the adult film industry and just unlocking this new hidden version of myself. I knew my life would become a little bit more journey-like once I dropped out of college. And if it was up to me, I would have never left college, but because of financial reasons, I really had no other option. So I wanted to start documenting my journey after leaving college. And I started when I was still in college, but I still knew that I was going to be leaving. And I was feeling a lot like how I'm feeling now, scared, unsure of how I was going to support myself and move forward. But yeah, that's who I would say Richie West is. I hope that's a good explanation. How does one create an online persona? I think the biggest part of creating an online persona is being authentic. I think there are different versions of ourselves within ourselves that we can unlock throughout life and through different experiences, but never drifting too far away from your heart and your heart's desires is really important in creating an online persona. It also makes things easier to sustain. So if you're playing a character or portraying yourself as someone that you're really not, it's going to get old kind of quickly. And that's how I feel a lot about some of my most popular videos. I kind of cringe watching them because I know a lot of them are shocking. I didn't lie or be untruthful in any of the videos, but I think that's what makes it even more cringy to me because I'm really just throwing it all out there, these really intimate experiences that I've went through in hopes of others gaining knowledge through them. So I think being authentic is super important in creating an online persona. So tell me, what kind of work do you like to do? Over the last 8 years, I've collected so much photography and cinematography and video equipment and just lighting, like fun things to create different sets. And it's made me realize how passionate I am about photography and just content creation as a whole. It's the longest job I've ever had, and I can be as creative as I want to with it. Never have I had a job in the past that has allowed me to have so much freedom and creativity in my work. So I think my favorite thing to do for work is photography, anything creative involving editing or creating videos like these. They're very time consuming, but when I'm passionate about the video, it makes it so much more fun to create. So yes, that's what I love to do, just content creation, creating promotional content for my website, all that stuff. If you could do anything today with your life, what would you do? If I could do anything today, I would go back to school, most likely focus on digital communications and learn even more about editing and software and how to use a camera to its fullest extent. And I'm super grateful for the last 8 years because I've learned what I'm really passionate about. And before I had to leave school and started making YouTube videos, I made a lot of videos with my phone. Like I would annoy my friends by always taking pictures and videos of like the most just uninteresting things. But I still have a lot of those videos and pictures that I like to reflect on now. And I'm grateful that I do because it's almost like a scrapbook for me. So I would like to continue creating a scrapbook of my life. And if I can do it as a career, I'm willing to find any way possible. So if I could do anything right now, I would definitely go back to school and pay my own way so I could gain as much wisdom and create as much good out of that wisdom as I could. What is your earliest memory in life? I wanted to refer to my notes for this answer because I really had to dig deep in my mind to remember my first memory in life. I mean, think about your first memory in life. Actually, go ahead and put it down below in the comments. I would love to hear it because everybody's first memory is different. I mean, I think that we all gain consciousness at a different time, and perhaps it molds the story of your life. You never know. But let me go into my answer. My first memory was the first time I was able to appreciate beauty in my surroundings. It was one day in fall of 2003 when I was in kindergarten, and I remember being in class and looking towards a very large classroom window that was overlooking the outdoor playground. And I just watched the window and watched the colorful leaves blow past the window like snowflakes, and the vibrant blue sky highlighting everything. The grass was still super green. Everything was just so bright, and I have the image burned into my mind. So I'd love to create it one day, like paint it or recreate it in some way, because it's just such a happy memory for me, and it represents my childhood because I loved my kindergarten teacher too. She was super fun, and one of the things that she would do that was super memorable is she would always wear the most colorful dresses and outfits every day. Some days she'd be dressed up like a flower. The next day she might look like a bumblebee with like bumblebee earrings and hats, and she would always wear flats too. Always had flats with like little embellishments on them. I don't know why as a kindergartner those are the things I remember, but can you say I was destined to be gay? I mean, if I was paying attention to those things back then, I think anybody could have predicted the outcome. But that was my first memory, and I really enjoyed my kindergarten. Can you remember your kindergarten? I mean, I remember like bits and pieces, not absolutely everything, but I just remember one day in class looking over and just smiling and looking and watching the leaves fall. It was a gusty morning too. It was very windy, but it was like that eastern fall wind where it's cool, it's not freezing, but it's the kind of wind that lets you know that fall is right around the corner. What event has been the biggest influence in your life? The biggest event in my life and most influential event in my life would have to be moving to Arizona immediately after graduation in 2016. I wanted to get out of my hometown from like fifth grade on. I was just so different from everybody there. And a big thing that I've learned living out here is that I'm just different. Like, I'm probably not going to really fit in anywhere, even with the gay community sometimes, most times. And I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that. But before 8 years ago, I seeked so much validation out of people, and I'm just so grateful for not being that way anymore, because it's exhausting and it's draining, and it hurts your soul after a while because you feel unworthy. But moving to Arizona on my own in 2016 and just remembering how I did that and how much courage it took, and also driving alone back to Maryland from Arizona in my little two-door Honda Civic packed full of all my stuff. It was just such a nostalgic moment that I'll always reflect on. And I even still to this day, I'll think of that moment when I'm up against an intimidating event or something that just riles me up. I'll just remember, like, hey, I can do this. I can do anything. I've proven to myself I can do anything. And a lot of people they don't really want to move out of their hometowns, and there's no judgment for that, but in my belief, I think that we're supposed to grow. I don't think we're supposed to like hang out in one place for the rest of our lives. But to each their own. Everybody's got a different purpose. Staying in my hometown was not my purpose. Okay, what lesson did that event teach you? So I learned a lot about myself. I learned to not take everything so personally, because I'll tell you one thing about Arizona. If you do not have a thick skin, or you're not willing to grow a thick skin, you will not last long out here. People are cutthroat. It's not the same podunk country town that I'm from and born and raised in, and I had to learn that pretty quickly. So if you guys like me to make a video about that in the future, like the differences between East Coast living and living in the Southwest or anything along those lines, please let me know because I have so much to share about that. But I will say that it really taught me to have a thick skin and to not take everything so personally. And it also made me feel more strong, knowing that I can achieve anything. I can survive on my own. I can find a way. All right, let's move to something a little bit more lighthearted. What's it like having a dog in your 20s? Having a dog in your 20s is not for the faint of heart. I think a lot of people may already know that, but when I adopted my dog Lucky, who I love dearly, it was the tail end of 2020, and many of us know what was going on in 2020. And at the time, I didn't know if that was ever going to end, and I was getting very lonely, and I wanted something to care for and sort of come home to every day. Because even at that time, I was getting tired of going out and partying and pool parties. Like, I just, I was getting tired of it. It wasn't giving me the same dopamine rush that it once did. And once I got Lucky, he helped me to get out of my apartment a lot more and be more active and experience Arizona for its natural beauty more so than I already was because I had an excuse to go out and, go jog on a trail or go to a new lake because I had Lucky to enjoy it with. I was blessed when I adopted Lucky, and I see that now because I gained so much more self-discipline and I started living like an adult rather than a teenager who just wanted to have fun all the time and party my life away and not really think about the long term. That's another thing. Once I got Lucky, I just started almost immediately thinking about my life long term. I wanted to get a bigger home. I wanted to get, a backyard for him to run around in. So I think it's different for everybody because if you're not willing to settle down in your life and focus on the long term, I honestly think that getting a dog would be a mistake. Maybe a cat would be better, but even then, cats need to be taken care of and taken to the vet and, cleaned, their litter boxes and all of that. So really, really think about it and think about your life and if you're in the right place in your life, in the right place mentally where you're ready to have basically a kid to take care of. Some of your friends may not like your dog, and it also might interfere with your dating life. So be prepared for that, because I wasn't. Have you learned more from the successes or the failures in your life? I've learned that successes are the byproduct of learning from your mistakes and your failures. So you have to go through your failures. You can't win all the time. You can't feel on top of the world all the time because those are what I view as the valleys in life. And you really have to get as much out of those valleys so that you can gain the energy to get back up to the mountaintop. But it's never going to be the same. I mean, everything in life is fleeting. So you have to find that perfect balance so you don't have such high highs and low lows. And the failures have taught me way more than the successes in my life for that reason. If you could hold on to a memory or feeling from your life in the past, what would that be? I would hold on to the way I felt when I first moved to Arizona on my own. It was so new to me. It was so different to everything I was used to. I mean, even the way people looked was different. And I found so much excitement in learning and exploring and just feeling like a fish out of water. There was something so exciting about that, especially being 18. And I made so many friends my freshman year of college. And I miss how open to meeting other people people my age were back then, because as you get older, I'm sure many of you can agree with this, people tend to go their different ways in life. But when you're a freshman in college, everybody around you is a freshman in college and new to state and the way of living. It makes for such an exciting atmosphere. I just remember creating my life when I moved here on my own, and I've I still model my life after that routine that I created when I first moved here because it led to success. Even though I had to leave college, my dream school, I still feel like I've achieved so much success just by staying true to myself, and everything was so new and I felt like there was so much to discover. It's really hard to explain that feeling unless you have moved to a new state for college right after high school. I don't think I would feel the same if I stayed locally, like in Maryland or Pennsylvania or even West Virginia, because it's so close to home and it looks so similar to my hometown that I just don't know how I would have reacted. But moving to Arizona, of all places, it was worth my while for sure. So that's something I would hold on to, that feeling forever. If you could talk to a younger version of yourself today, what would you say? This is a great question. I would tell myself to slow down, slow down. You don't get too big for your britches over there, because if you do, something bad is going to happen. And I didn't have a lot of parental supervision, if any, when I was probably starting from, my whole life, really. I really didn't have a curfew and nobody was checking for my homework or anything. So I had to gain a lot of maturity very young, because if I didn't, I was going to get in trouble at school. And if I got in trouble at school, they were going to call home and then bad things were going to happen to me, even though nobody was doing any checks and balances for me at home. So it was this weird mental thing where I really had to, learn how to do my own laundry, learn how to sign my own permission slips, learn how to make myself dinner at 6 years old. Very young, very, very young. Too young to be playing with the stove and microwave, and I found a way. And I think it's just a testament of life and a testament to having faith in your future and in yourself. So I would just tell myself to slow down, enjoy my childhood, don't try to rush growing up, because you'll get there one day. Enjoy the journey. And stop hanging out with people that are so much older than you, because it's not cool when you're young. When you're young and you're hanging out with people 6 and 7 years older than you, it's not cool. But I think I enjoyed hanging out with older people when I was younger, because I had that maturity that set me apart from a lot of people my own age, to the point where I didn't really relate to a lot of my friends my own age, and I aged out of friendships with a lot of those people. All right, and how has your faith evolved over time? I guess you could say I've always had faith. It was just misdirected. I wasn't believing in the right things. And let's just say now I know how I didn't lose myself in my colorful past. I know who was looking out over me and protecting me. What was the most profound spiritual moment of your life? The most profound spiritual moment in my life occurred around a year ago. And I don't want to go too far into it because it is kind of personal and I want to protect it, but maybe I'll talk about it more in the future. It involved a Bible, it involved Lucky, and lots of crying. And I just remember once it ended, once I shut the Bible and I looked at the time, it was 11:22 on the dot. And I felt the lightest I have ever felt in my life, just filled with peace and almost like a euphoric feeling, just almost like feather light. And at that moment, I knew if I could talk to anybody right now and give a piece of advice with how to get in touch with your own faith, I would say start with journaling, because that's one of the ways I started connecting with myself again, and my heart, and just God and it's really helped me to see things so much more clearly so that in the future, I don't just look back at my life and wonder what happened. I'm so grateful to be going through that right now, but it's also another reminder of that maturity that I had to grow at such a young age because I'm just too big for this world, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, but even now, I don't relate to a lot of people my age because of the experiences I've gone through. So it does alienate me a lot, but I still haven't lost my faith. Okay, and this is the last question. Have there been moments that have tested your faith? What were those challenges and how did they impact your faith? Of course, my faith is tested every day, and there are still things about my life that I don't particularly like. I know that those things or those regrets or experiences, I know they're not going to hold me back because I've proven that to be true already. I've proven to how you can set those things aside. You don't have to be defined by the mistakes that you've made in your past. As long as you understand that they were mistakes and you keep moving forward and why you might not have regretted them back then, I think it's important to do those checks and balances with yourself. So journaling has been a great way for me to start doing that. And I also have some other practices that help me to have that oneness with myself and sort of ground myself away from all of the craziness. There are a few things that I wish I could change about my life. I mean, we all have some of them, right? At least one of them. And if you don't, you're lying. But I've already proven to myself that those things won't hold me back. Those things make me unique and give me my power. So try not to be ashamed of the things that people made fun of you for before you even understood why. Those are the things that give you power and the things that set you apart and the things that will help you to fulfill your purpose here on earth. So thank you so much. I hope you feel like you have gotten to know me a little bit better after this interview. I'm sorry I'm a little nervous, but thank you. I feel like I've gotten to know you so much better. Bye. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it's been a while and I'm just so grateful to still have you guys here with me. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comment section. Also, like and subscribe to this video and my channel if you want to catch more of my videos in the future. It really helps me out with growing my subscribers and all that jazz. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. Check out my website. I did finally switch over to Shopify, so I marked that one off my vision board for this year. And yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think about it. It looks a lot different than my old website. And the new website URL is westcandles.com, okay? I had some issues with West Novelties. I'm still working on getting that transferred over, but for now, it's westcandles.com. Check it out. You can find tons of custom candles, just like this one over here. Yeah, I'd really appreciate it, guys. It's my little side hustle. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.